Hi,
Hi, Dana. How are you?
good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for your
Good.
time.
Thank you.
This is Dana Bookman. Due to lack of opportunities for her young daughter to learn and play baseball, she started a non-profit organization called Canadian Girls Baseball. Every year, hundreds of young girls gather on the field to learn and play. From the modest beginnings in 2016 to teach her daughter, Canadian Girls Baseball now has 25 locations in 6 provinces. But for Dana, baseball is much more than a sport. It also teaches young girls leadership skills, such as how to lead, how to fail, how to support each other, and most importantly, how to empathize. To provide a level playing field, Canadian Girls Baseball provides financial incentives and free gears for people with financial difficulties. However, a noble initiative is not without challenges as government funding is mostly available for Olympic sports. We talked to her to know more about her journey, organization, challenges, and opportunities. Before starting this organization, what were you doing, and what led you to make this decision?
So before I started Canadian Girls Baseball, I was a journalist for many years, and I had an injury that did not allow me to go back to work. And during that time, my daughter wanted to play baseball, and through a series of events, I ended up starting something for her, and it grew and grew until now here we are with a pretty big national organization.
Yeah, so that was my exactly my second question was, why baseball? Why not any other sport? Why not hockey? We know Canada is big on hockey. Why not basketball? Why not soccer? Why not football? Why baseball?
It's a good question. So my kids are a year apart, and they both grew up playing baseball. It was just something that our family liked to do. Their dad, my husband, liked to take them to the park and play baseball. In the summers, we would play at the cottage, and so when my daughter wanted to play this, baseball is not my sport, but it was just something that organically happened and grew. It wasn't a choice that I made. Like I wasn't picking a sport. And originally, actually, I thought it should be all sports, that we would start with baseball and then we'd give girls a chance to try different sports throughout the year. But there was such a need for baseball. Baseball for girls doesn't really exist in this country, that it seemed like the one where that was missing and needed the most time and energy to grow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about there's way more underrepresentation of girls in sports. So why do you think traditionally that was the case, and why it's taking so long to fix the problem?
I think the biggest part of the problem is that from a very young age, girls are expected to play sports with boys, but girls and boys play sports differently, and they like different things from sports and about sports. For example, boys, when they're successful at sports, they feel like they feel confident to make friends and get along with other people. But girls want friends and gain confidence through other people, and then they'll try and become successful at sport. So they even approach the sport differently. They can both be aggressive at sport, but just in different ways. And boys will say to each other on the field, "You suck," and then a boy will say back, "No, you suck." But a girl will say, "Oh, I suck, I should stop playing." So often if you see them playing together, boys and girls will be in the outfield doing cartwheels. But if they're playing with just girls will get into that game and try as hard as they can. And for girls, it's a lot more about fun than about winning. So it's just different social concepts and mentalities that boys and girls have starting from such a young age that divides them and leaves girls out of sports and on the sidelines. And so we find with girls only sports, like, they have an opportunity to play together and have fun and enjoy it. And I think we find that in all different other sports, but baseball is one that just hasn't traditionally been available to girls.
And I come from India, so in India there's expectations from girls, that the one of the main reasons they shouldn't be playing sports is, what if you get injured? What if you have a scar on your face? That's very so because girls they need to look certain ways in order to get married, and those are the expectations, very traditional expectations from girls, as opposed to boys. So do you feel that's case in Canada also?
You know, I don't think it's not the case. But I think in North America there is a wider expectation for women, for girls who are becoming women, to have jobs and to participate in the workplace, not just not just working inside their home, but also within the outside workforce. And sports doesn't have to be violent and give them scars or hurt them in any way. But what sports does more so is give them the confidence to participate in jobs later in life, or even do better in school, because they're learning how to work as a team. They're learning how to fail. They're learning how to say to themselves when somebody says you suck, well, actually, I don't suck. They're learning empathy for each other. They're learning how to speak to older adults who are officials. So statistics show that girls who participate in sports do better in schools, get into better universities, have better jobs, and 94% of Fortune 500 CEOs who are women played a sport. Wow. So I think that those traditional, concepts of what a girl should do or can do, and what a boy should do or can do, I think that those barriers are being broken down. The expectations of girls when they reach adulthood and become women is that they will, become second earners in their homes, and they're going to have to play in that playing field. So we have to set them up for that earlier in life. And if we tell them that they're too delicate to play a sport, then, are we also telling them they're too delicate to be in the workplace and that they don't deserve positions of power? I mean, it's a very, that's a big social conversation, but I think that those barriers are being broken down for a reason, and we should just keep breaking them down.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It gives the girls message that there are certain things that are not for them, and they should hold back, and they should not participate. And even I see nowadays India, there's a lot more growing participation of girls in sports. I think that's the case all around the world, and that's definitely a good news. So when you did this transition from journalism to starting this sports charity, so as a woman, as somebody who didn't have any background in sports, so what were the challenges you faced when you started?
I think that when I started, I didn't see the challenges at the time that existed. But I think now, looking back, I understand, that there were challenges that I didn't see in front of me. For example, I think a lot of people, and still people say, what you're doing is amazing. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, girls are playing sport, but don't really believe that, there's a place for girls in sport, especially in baseball, especially people in the world of baseball. There are so many people who, my biggest challenge, I think, is that we are the largest girls baseball league in the world now. And still, the way that we do it is non-traditional. We traditionally, with any sport that's typically led by boys, we look at them and they're playing 3 days a week, and they're playing at all different elite levels, and they're, expected to become major league players or elite or, professional players. And our goal is just very different. And the challenge that I face within all different, governing bodies of sport and people who we're trying to partner with, is that that's not our goal. Our goal is for these girls to have fun, to learn teamwork, to learn leadership skills, to enjoy sport, but not to become the 1% of players of any sport in the world that are going to be elite. And because we're not trying to push people into elite sport, there aren't supports in government structures for people who don't want to be an Olympian or a gold medalist. And so a lot of what we face in terms of challenges is people looking at us saying, it's not real. But we're teaching real baseball. We're using real baseballs, real bats, real bases. We're teaching the rules of the game. We run tournaments. We have girls playing at all different levels, and it's very real. But it's just, I think it's a very political, sport is the political arena, and that's my biggest challenge across the country.
So it's a lot of commercialization in terms of their thinking in terms of dollars and cents. If they are putting in money into girls baseball, what are they going to get out of it? If these girls are going to play, at the professional level, and then then make money. So you are rather looking at this from the point of view of development, giving them skills, as part of the fundamental education that we have in school. But you are also putting them on the field and giving them that education that girls lack. And you mentioned that 94% of the women in position of power, they have played sports. So I don't know the statistics, but we can also say that the number is small. The number of girls who play sports is relatively small. That might be one of the reasons that we have relatively small number of women in position of power. If we have more women playing sports, having that leadership skill that that traditionally because business is a club of boys, and you have that that mentality. Even when I as a man go to workplace, I see that people are talking about sports and those things, and women are left out. They are in small numbers, and in that they are left out. So I feel that there's this whole initiative needs to be looked from the point of view of you are giving the necessary skills, and there should be investment from the government or even from the town. So that was my next question is what kind of help you are getting from different levels, whether it's federal level, provincial level, or whether it comes to city of Barrie or any other cities.
That is a good question. And just to go back to what you said, I agree with what you're saying 100%, that we're not creating future leaders, and girls are left out of the conversation. I mean, even in business meetings, you'll hear men say, let's hit it out of the park. Well, that's a baseball reference. Or there's all kinds of other references that are sport related, that if you're not part of that sport, you're not invited to participate in that, then you're left out, not just of the field and the game, but you're left out of the boardroom. And so we do have to set girls up for success by getting them involved in sport. And in terms of support from different levels of government, I can pretty much say we are not, generally the way money flows in government is that Sport Canada has money and it goes to the governing bodies of sport nationally. So in baseball, it's Baseball Canada, or it goes to the provincial bodies, Baseball Ontario, for example. And then governing bodies can contribute to sport organizations that they think need it. We don't have any support from any of the governing bodies, and Sport Canada specifically focuses on sports that are Olympic sports. But Canada does have a national women's baseball team. It's second in the world. It competes internationally every 2 years at the World Cup of Women's Baseball. They played in the Pan Am Games, the team, but it's not an Olympic sport. And therefore, the Sport Canada does not support the Baseball Canada women's national team. So we look to other organizations for financial help, because we are a charity and we have a lot of girls who can't afford to play, and we have a lot of programs that we offer in underserved areas. And part of the challenge that we face is that although we're the largest league in the world for girls, we're run entirely by women, we also, our numbers are not enormous, and we don't have that sexy kind of appeal of women's hockey has, or women's basketball, because the sport hasn't developed enough yet. Major League Baseball is now starting to get involved and starting to offer programming for girls and women, and starting to run different kinds of camps and training days and those kinds of things. But we're still 20 years behind where hockey was, so where hockey is now. And so we have to build it up. And so it's hard to be, stuck in between. We can't build it up without money, but we can't get money without building it up. So the financial aspect is a real hindrance for us to expanding and growing. And, we're in, I think, 6 different provinces and 20 different locations, or 25 locations now, with hundreds and hundreds of girls playing, but we find it hard to sustain. And so it's, if you know any sponsors, tell them I say hi. We can always use more support and more help, and people who believe in what we're doing.
Yeah, at least I'm going to reach out to the city of Barrie, the councillors and mayor's office. At least I'm going to ask them if there are any initiatives, any help they already do, or they plan to provide for your organizations, or in encouraging girls in sports. So that was my next question about, you mentioned that you are in 6 provinces, more than 20 locations. So how since you started, how you grew, and what is the organizational structure?
So we started with my daughter, who wanted to play baseball, and I just put a note out on my Facebook page saying, anybody who has a daughter who wants to play baseball. My daughter played a year as the only girl with 400 boys her age,
Wow.
and said at the end of it, I'm not playing anymore. But she loved baseball, so I just thought, we'll get some friends together. So I put that note out, and 44 girls joined us. So 44 girls, I thought was, we had 4 teams of girls ages 5 to 10 all mixed
And when
together.
was this? Which year was that?
That was in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls had so much fun. So in 2017, I thought, we'll do it again. Everybody will come back, and we'll have, another few weeks of baseball before school's over. We did it again a year later in 2017. 350 girls came. Wow. And that was our tiny little corner of our neighborhood. So at that point, I realized that lack of participation was not because of lack of interest, it was because of lack of opportunity. So if 350 girls were joining us from one tiny little pocket of one really big city, how many other girls must be out there? So in 2018, we expanded to Nova Scotia and Manitoba. Their baseball governing bodies invited us to open our programs. In our first season in Nova Scotia, we had 150 girls join our program. So those aren't our numbers everywhere, but now we're in 6 different provinces, and we're continuing to expand. This year, we open in Nanaimo, British Columbia on Vancouver Island. We're already in Comox, BC, and Vancouver. We opened last year. We had another 150 girls playing. So there's a need for this, and there's a call to expand. We opened last year in Barrie. Despite COVID, we still had a really good turnout. I say if we have 10 girls, that's a win, because those 10 girls will tell their friends, and then the next time our program comes to town, we'll have 15 girls, or we'll just let it grow organically. But when we do have these giant turnouts, it just shows that girls want to play baseball, and there's no opportunity for them. And there is softball in a lot of these places, but softball and baseball are different sports, just like hockey and ringette are different sports. So just because it has a stick and a ball does not make it the same sport. and girls want an opportunity to be like the Blue Jays or to be like, their parents or their, siblings and who are playing baseball, not softball.
So this summer, how many girls you are expecting to participate?
Across the country? It's a good question. We get a lot of last minute registrations. So we just finished our spring season in Toronto, just the Toronto season. We had 350 girls in Toronto. I'm expecting we'll get, around 1,000 across the country, across all of our spring summer programs. And then we also offer winter programs and different kinds of elite programming and training. So our numbers did go down over COVID and we're starting to build them up. So at our peak, we had 1,500 in 2019. Last year, we had around 850 across the country. And then, so this year, I'm thinking around 1,000, hopefully. And obviously our reach is further than that because all of our coaches are women in sport. And then we have parent volunteers who join us and family members of all the players. So our reach is wide, but our player numbers are still growing, and now we have to recover from the pandemic and people who, hopefully stop being nervous now that summer's here and things are more stable. But even this year, people didn't want to sign up for things that they thought might be canceled or who knows. So hopefully we'll get back to our numbers and beyond that next year.
Yeah, thousands is a pretty significant number because it's obvious that those 1,000 girls did not have the chance to play the sports. And also about the coaches, you said the coaches are also women. So in terms of I'm curious in terms of understanding their background. So what is, because they were also interested in sports when they were girls, and it's obvious that they did not have the opportunity to play the professional baseball. That doesn't really exist in a large scale unless you have because there is a chance of getting selected is very small because the number of teams and number of opportunities are very small in girls baseball compared to the boys baseball. So what is your experience in terms of in the coaches and in terms of how they feel about this opportunity and what they missed out when they were growing up?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard for us to find women who coach in baseball because baseball was not a sport that was open to very many women. So in the beginning, we had a lot of our coaches were from the provincial teams or the national team. That was in 2016, 2017. A lot of those, former players or current players who were young women now have moved on to full-time careers and don't have time to coach with us as much. But luckily, we've actually developed our own coaches. So we have some players. We have a player, for example, who joined us in 2016 when she was 11 years old. Now she's 17 and she runs our summer camp program because she's just amazing. She loves it. And not just her, but a bunch of the people who joined around the same time as her are, a couple years older, around her age, and they're coaching with us now also. So we run a junior coach program where we actually train girls who are ages 12 to 16 to coach our youngest girls, our 4 and 5-year-olds. And then, so the idea is they mentor our 4 and 5-year-olds and coach them, but they're also mentored by our older coaches. So we're building coaches ourselves, and we have a robust coach training program that we, make them go through, and they have to do background checks and some national certifications as well. And then otherwise, our coaches come from every walk of life and every kind of sport. One of our very best coaches ever was a cricket player.
Wow.
And yeah, because really, and a lot of softball players, because the basic skills are the same. So it's only when we get into our more advanced baseball and the older levels where you need to know how to hold the ball to pitch and, some different techniques. But the basic skills of softball and baseball are the same: to throw, run, catch, hit. So we do have softball players. We have hockey players. We teach so we're a development league, and my belief is that we develop everybody. We develop our coaches. We now have an all-female umpire program in development. So we're developing our sport officials, we're developing our players, and we're developing a community around the sport. So we, we'll take somebody who's passionate about sport, loves kids, is, very interested in girls' empowerment through sport, and we'll teach them the skills of baseball, and we'll teach them how to teach those skills. So it's not a perfect system, but I think that, anytime you're creating something new and finding a different path, there's going to be some good, some bad. It's going to sometimes miss the mark, sometimes it'll hit the mark, but we're making it up as we go along and finding the people who want to do it with us.
No, that's interesting. So I see well thought out a strategy, if I can say that, in terms of developing the players, developing the coaches, the umpires, so building this sport from the ground up. And I don't know how can people say this is not serious. This look, I hear this is pretty serious way of building a big organization where thousands of girls are expected to participate. So about COVID, I believe we started in 2016, and as you were picking up, we hit the COVID, and everything was shut down. So how was your thinking going into COVID, and were you kind of losing hope, or this kind of disappointing that
COVID was an unexpected, blow to everybody and every organization, and it knocked us off of our feet. I think the word that everybody used during COVID is pivot, and we tried really hard. I think that we were a leader in the online training space. We were just launching our spring season when COVID shut everything down. So it shut down in March, and our season was supposed to start the 1st of May. So about 6 weeks out. So, we launched a free 8-week online training program for girls to participate. And our spring, May, June season is mostly in the Toronto area and, around Southern Ontario. So we were able to get all of the girls who participated a free bat and a ball. So anybody who wanted could take a free bat and ball, could practice from their houses or their parks with their families in their backyards or their front yards or wherever was safe, and go through our videos. We created a virtual bingo card. So there was baseball bingo where they would go through the 8-week series of videos, and for every skill that they checked off, they could, submit the card at the end when the card was full, and they would get a prize. So I think we were like an early adopter of that, and we tried to be creative, and amazingly we had interest. We had people watching the video from Africa, from Europe, from across the country, from the United States. So it really did reach far and wide, which was amazing. I think, last year we were shut down again in our spring season because of COVID. In Toronto, things were shut down, and that was more of a blow. People were over the online lessons. They didn't want to participate in that. So we had to pivot again and figure out how we could satisfy our customer base and not go bankrupt at the same time, which was, hard because money's already tight. We had to lay off everybody who worked for us and basically shut down and, go into hibernation mode. Thankfully, there were some government grants, like COVID relief grants, that we were able to access, which helped us kind of bridge that time period. But without those, I don't know, we would not have survived. I don't know if anybody would have survived. It was a tough time. And now we're trying to rebuild, and it's still tough. A lot of even a lot of support that we had has changed direction now and is still going toward COVID relief, as opposed to, sport, which, if you look at all the studies that have come out about the impact of missing out on sport for kids, their mental health has suffered tremendously. Social skills have suffered. Kids are dropping out at higher rates and are more involved in video games than getting outdoors. So I think, there's so many needs in the community now, it's hard to pick which need is the most important. But to me, sport just serves all kids from all backgrounds, and although underserved communities obviously need support on different levels in terms of food insecurity and those kinds of things. I mean, I say that girls are underserved in sport, no matter what their socioeconomic status, because whether you have $1 million or $10, you've no access to that sport, you're underserved. So I just think, COVID really was a big blow to all of that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And, as you said, whether it's, girl from a rich family or poor family, if there is no infrastructure, there are no organizations, and, you can't just play by yourself. If you have, a lot of money, you need that organization. And in terms of, underrepresented community, or, people of color. So, what kind of participation you see from marginalized communities, and are there any initiatives or any programs you have to attract them, to reach out to them?
So yes, but also we will partner with any organization or any community that wants us to bring our program specifically to that community. So for example, we work with a center for at-risk teenage girls, and we bring our programming to them at no cost to them. We also do programming in Indigenous communities. We have one coming up this summer on the Enoch Cree Nation in Alberta. But more than that, to me, I mean, as a parent and as a mom, I remember when my kids were little that on paper, I looked like, I could send my kids to any program, but I also know that I was couponing and wondering how I was going to pay for my groceries. So our program is subsidized, whether it's partially or fully, to anybody who needs it, with no hoops to jump through. It's it's the honor system. If you say that you need help or you can't afford it, or you want your daughter to participate, but you're not sure if you can, how much you can spend, then send us an email. And my idea is, I want everybody from all walks of life playing together, just like real life. I want girls and anybody who identifies as a girl to play with us, whether they are transitioning, or they're neurologically diverse or physically diverse, or they come from communities that are different than the ones that we're playing in, that we have access to. If they different socioeconomic status, different colors of their skin, different everything. I mean, that's what real life looks like. We've had kids in wheelchairs join us. We've had kids from whose parents are divorced and can't afford anything join us. We have kids from everywhere join us. We'll help pay for bus fare if they can't get there. I mean, I know there are so many barriers to kids getting into programming, especially if their parents aren't around or aren't available. And that's why we'll bring the programs to them if that's what's best for the community. But in my mind, I just want to see everybody playing together, because that's what creates empathy. And empathy is one of the leadership skills that is most important, according to, if you look at Forbes magazine or the New York Times, like empathy is the big one. So we're teaching kids how to fail. We're teaching kids how to support each other. And that doesn't just come from, us going into a community. That comes from communities mixing together. So we'll support people in any way that we can. And we're always happy to make stuff up or have conversations, or, engage in conversations about how we can, bring our program to somebody in the most effective way possible.
Yeah, and at least two organizations Barrie Native Friendship Center in Barrie, it's an Indigenous organization. After this interview, I will also let Samantha know, and you
Please.
can also reach out to them. And there's another Indian Barrie Association, people who are from India. I will also reach out to them, let them know I have some friends from India. I know I have a son, 4-year-old, but I know they have daughters, so I will also let them know. There's some of them in Mississauga, and they can also participate. So I think as we can get this opportunity to as many girls as possible, that would be a really awesome. So that's all I have. But anything you wanted to tell about the program? How can people participate? Where they can find more information about about this initiative?
They can find us at CanadianGirlsBaseball.com. And if there's somebody out there who wants to join, but just doesn't have the financial resources to do so, they can email us info@CanadianGirlsBaseball.com. Again, there's no forms to fill out or hoops to jump through. We ask that people pay what they can, if they can, and if not, then they don't. We provide everything that players need except for running shoes. Generally, girls are asked to bring a baseball glove with them, but if you can't afford that, I mean, we've had some Ukrainian refugees contact us recently, and obviously we'll provide whatever they need for anybody, whether you're a refugee or you just live down the street and times are tough. So yeah, anybody should just reach out to us, contact us, look for a program in your neighborhood. If it's not in your neighborhood, but you need it in your neighborhood, contact us. Like we really are very flexible and are just making stuff up as we go along, and we like to do it with the community. So that's, we're doing the best that we can for everybody, and we have to do it together. I mean, that's how we build this.
Yeah, and how are any other ways where people can help your organization? If if somebody doesn't have goals, or they want to, I don't know, volunteer or donate, or in what way people can help?
There is a donate button on our website, and all donations, all financial donations are can get a tax receipt. I think it's over, I don't remember the amount that it's over, but it's over $15, I think. Can get a tax receipt. So they can just click on the button for that. And in terms of volunteering, we love parent volunteers. We love people, if there's a woman in sport who wants to work with us, we pay all of our staff. I believe in, paying women in the sports world to help us. It also creates accountability if our staff, have to answer to us. So we have more control over the programs that we offer and the quality of our programs. But I think if somebody has any interest in, in-kind partnerships or conversations about, how companies can get involved, or accessing, our players through any kind of, we give out goodie bags. So if people want to donate to the goodie bags, or there's so many options, and we're always also open to conversations. If somebody says, I want to help, but I don't know how, then send us an email and we'll figure it out. Because like I said, we want this to be a community experience, and that's for everybody, not just the players, but families and the areas that we play in, because the only way we can grow sports and help girls in this way is by doing it together.
That sounds great. So thank you so much, Dana, again for your time and speaking with me, and good luck for your future plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.